No hay un día que no pienso en ti. Pienso si estuvieras orgullosa de mí. Y días que logro metas lloro por ti. Quisiera que estuvieras aquí. Abuelita, tú todavía eres todo para mí. El día más difícil fue verte morir. Mi primera amiga, llena de cuentos y sabiduría. Finally found my purpose, ending all these cycles and curses. You still feel hopeless till I bloom like a lotus.
What's up, everyone? 7 Octoberz here. Welcome to the Book of 7, my vlog series, episode 7. I wanted to make this a special episode, as I mentioned on the last one. I wanted to tell you about my origins, where 7 Octoberz came from, and my Abuelita, which she plays a huge role in the name. So we'll just get into it. 7 October, so I'll kind of take you back where it all started. So 7 Octoberz was something I had been writing on my notebook since like 2016. Me and one of my friends and a coworker at the time, we were thinking of doing like some sort of t-shirt business. I don't know why, we just started talking about that, and we're both hip hop and horror fans, so I was like, let's do something that incorporates both of them. That'd be dope. And then some reason or the other, we just kind of forgot about it. But I would write names and stuff like that, and I always wanted to have like my own clothing brand, and I still do in the near future. Hopefully that's in my plans. So I was thinking of cool names, and it had to be short. So I wrote 7 Octoberz, and I take it even back where I got that. So 7 Octoberz, 7, my favorite number is 7. October, I like it. Halloween is in October, the fall season, everything spooky, you know, type of stuff. So that's why I was like 7 Octoberz would be great. But then what added even more meaning is, as you can see, I'm wearing a t-shirt right here. I'll kind of stand up a little bit. It's my Abuelita and me. May she rest in peace, Rafaela Ojeda. She passed away ironically on October 7th, 2014, and it's going to be 7 years actually this year that she's been gone. So it kind of even made it like even a double layer. And like I said, it wasn't even supposed to be my artist name. It was just going to be like some sort of brand name. Then in 2019, I started Nightmare on Sedgwick Avenue, which is my hip hop and horror blog. And I needed an Instagram handle, and I still had it in I think I found the notebook where I wrote 7 October. I'm like, I'm going to put 7 Octoberz as my handle because it's just shorter. And if it does turn into like the blog turns into like some sort of merch stuff, that will be the brand name of the clothing or whatever I do for merch. And then I started going to hip hop shows, and people, I would introduce myself as 7 October just because that was my IG handle. But at the time, I was making music years before I started the blog. I was making music already. I've been doing it since I was little, but I didn't really start taking it seriously until like 2014, 2015. I started putting stuff on SoundCloud, and I was actually going by Poetic Serenity, which was super long. And I've had other names. You can ask me if you see me in person what those names were. I don't want to like go through all of them, but that's pretty much what it was. So people started calling me that, and I found joy in it because every time somebody would ask me where did 7 Octoberz come from, they were bringing back to my Abuelita. So it was like paying homage to her, keeping her legacy alive, and that made me happy. And I know it would make her happy. And the reason besides that is my Abuelita had a huge, and still has a huge impact in my upbringing and everything I do now. My creativity, it's all thanks to her. She pretty much raised my sisters and I growing up because both my parents worked 9 to 5s. So her and my grandpa, which is her, technically he's not really our blood related grandpa, is my mom's stepdad. So, but he pretty much taught us how to ride a bike and all that, and he's still alive, and shout out to him. He's 100 years old. He just turned 100 this year. But them, they pretty much were our second parents. So my grandma would watch movies with me and listen to music with me, and she's the gateway of why I fell in love with music and movies. We would watch horror movies together. Ironically, she was a devout Catholic. I grew up in that kind of household. I'm not religious anymore, but that's so you guys can kind of grasp of where I come from. And so she ironically enjoyed watching stuff like that with me, even though she was a Catholic. She would tell us like leyendas, which grew my fascination for storytelling. And if you listen to my music, a lot of the perspective I always write is through a character's perspective and storytelling. I think she has a huge impact in how I write my lyrics for sure. So shout out to her, and I miss her every day. And yeah, and we would watch Época de Oro movies from the ones with Pedro Infante, Jorge Negrete, Maria Felix, all that stuff. And we would also watch 80s Mexican horror films, which a lot of people don't know, but Mexico had an 80s slasher era too. They kind of copied a lot of the American movies like Friday the 13th and all that, but it was dope. It was rich, to to see that in Mexican culture. So I grew up watching those type of movies like Vacaciones de Terror, Cementerio de Terror, all this stuff. If you know, you know. And yeah, so my grandma would tell us like leyendas, like Mexican folklore, so all that stuff. That's where like the spookiness, I think, of why I love horror films. It's come from her, but I also just love movies in general because I would watch any movie with her. Even then, I moved on to like the American horror and all genres that I would watch with my parents. Like, luckily, my parents and my whole family was never the type where like, oh, you can't watch this. Like certain movies, of course, we couldn't because it was like it was too adult yet, but most of the time we never had anything where we couldn't listen to specific type of music because of the lyrics and stuff like that. That's where like I fell in love with music because of my grandma again. I would watch Pedrito Fernandez films like La Niña de la Mochila Azul, all this stuff. He was like a child mariachi prodigy, and now he's like a huge star, and he's one of the reasons I fell in love with music in the first place. And then I kind of ventured into other genres. And I just love music in general. So my grandma is like, again, the gateway of why I fell in love with those genres. And I will always be grateful for that. And she always just believed in our dreams. And I wanted to share this right here, this guitar. She brought it from one of her trips to Michoacan. That's where my family's from. Years ago, I don't even remember. I was probably like 11 or something because I told her that I wanted to be a singer. I really wanted to do like some sort of like mariachi music. I was obsessed with that type of music, and then obviously it grew into like hip hop, reggaeton, everything that I listen to now, R&B. But that's how much she believed in my dreams that she bought me a guitar. And until this day, I'm still trying to learn. I've taken a couple classes. I haven't figured it out yet, but I will. And I've dedicated songs to her. You'll hear her name dropped or say Abuelita in my songs because I dedicate a lot of it to her. I have a couple songs that I'll share with you guys here of songs that I've dedicated to her. And I also carry her with me all the time. I have her ring, her marriage ring. I asked my grandpa when she passed away if I can keep it, and he said he was okay with it. So it's kind of like my good luck charm, and that she's always with me. So yeah, I'm proud to say that my name comes from my abuelita, and I hope you guys enjoy like the origin story of where my name comes from. Again, this episode is going to be focusing on my origin, my abuelita, Rafaela Ojeda. May she rest in peace, love her, and we miss you. So lately, a lot of things been connecting me to her. A couple weeks ago, we actually went to the funeral or mortuary where she was cremated. I actually have the little pamphlet here. It's Dignity in El Cajon. I hadn't been there since she passed away, pretty much in October 7th of 2014. It's going to be 7 years, as I mentioned, her anniversary of her passing. We went there actually because my parents and even myself, we've been looking into possibly getting like our funeral service like arrangements too, because you just never know. We pay for like car insurance and all that stuff that might not ever happen, but we know that death is certain, and we just never really invest in that. So kind of surreal being there again. I didn't even feel like, it wasn't even sadness or anything. It was like more like nostalgia, but like some sense of I don't know, like a full circle moment type of thing. But yeah, I'll show you in the next clips. The mortuary. This is the mortuary where my grandma was actually cremated. Kind of full circle moment right now. Haven't been here actually since she passed away in 2014, October 7th. That's going to be 7 years this October 7th. We came to get more information from my mom, my dad, and possibly me too, to get prepared for when we pass away.
Ushe, protejo la madre tierra, la verde frontera, la que nos deja existir sin guerra. Estos poderes son de mis ancestras, nuestra historia está en las estrellas. El universo inspira mis poemas, mi corazón y alma en cada letra. Carácter de soldadera, esta canción se la dedico a mi abuela. Siempre vivirás en mí, Rafaela. Me he convertido en una de tus leyendas, la diosa de las tinieblas. Orgullosa de mi cultura, como yo no habrá ninguna. Yo soy única, la reina que adoran en su tumba. Agarro mi energía de la lluvia, a mí nada me asusta. Tus rezos me alumbran, nací para la lucha. Cada pelea gano sin duda, vengo de un linaje de salvajes. Jaguar corre en mi sangre, nunca he sido una cobarde. I do this from the heart, you can hear my pain in every word. Una calavera, mi cara pintada. Es el día de los muertos, estoy disfrazada. La vida no es larga. Celia dijo, la vida es un carnaval, hay que disfrutarla. Esta canción es para ti, mi abuelita. Eras todo para mí, falleciste y mira en qué me convertí, en una mujer who follows her dreams. The dead don't scare me, only those alive, living a lie, stuck in their daily routines, forget to live their life.
I also wanted to talk about a little bit about death, because it gets like a negative reputation, and especially right now with everything that's going on with COVID, it's even been more talked about. The irony is like we're all gonna die, being honest. But I've been reading this book. I picked up actually on my last trip. As you watched on my last vlog, I went to Arizona, and I picked this one up in Bisbee. We went to a bookstore, me and my friend, and this book just kind of called out to me, La Santa Muerte. I've always found interest in it. People that actually like pray to her, and it's the personification of death, and it's female in Mexican culture, and I think in most cultures too. If you actually look into it, and I'm reading about it too, and here it's interesting, the take on death, and how people kind of don't see it as a negative thing. And that's one thing I love about my Mexican culture. We have Dia de los Muertos, where we celebrate the dead. And it used to be like, I think, a whole month celebration, but it turned now into like a 2-day celebration. I've gone to Puebla too, where they've celebrated that, and it's just like a beautiful tradition, to not even be just scared of death, because I mean it's inevitable. I think is what we fear more is the unknown type of thing. So reading this book has been cool. Definitely recommend it. I'll probably share it once I'm done reading it. Right now I'm not even halfway through yet, but it's interesting. There was something that kind of stood out to me about once you as a human come to terms with appreciating life and death, it kind of opens the world to kind of possibilities, and also just realizing how life is really short and appreciating the moment, which I've been trying to do. So death is not as negative as people make it out to be. So I wanted to share that with y'all.
The only thing in this life guaranteed is death. So live life to your last breath. Don't fear La Santa Muerte when she comes to collect. Fear no evil and what lies ahead. Our life isn't a debt. We just gotta realize there's beauty in the end. Don't focus on what's left. I'm learning to be at peace with my mortality, to not fear it or feel anxiety. Life and death, they're both a part of me, embracing the duality. I acknowledge I won't live forever. The legacy I leave behind is what matters. Appreciate every moment, it's a blessing. Life's a gift, that's why we gotta live in the present.
All right, thank you everybody for tuning in for another episode of the Book of Seven, episode 7. Again, dedicated to my Abuelita Rafaela Ojeda, and to tell you a little bit about my backstory and origin being 7 Octoberz, where that came from. So I appreciate everybody that's been supporting, whether it's been from day one or you just started watching my vlog series and then I led you to my blog and my music and all that. I appreciate everybody. Again, it makes me happy when people call me 7 Octoberz, whether it's in person or social media, because it brings it back to my Abuelita and it's keeping her memory and legacy alive, and that makes me happy. And I hope one day, at least that's the purpose for me, for my life, is to be able to inspire others, whether it's a family member or friend, and they pay it forward. That would mean the world to me, and of course reaching wisdom. But yeah, thank you guys. Tune in on the next episode. It's going to be dope. And have a great week or weekend whenever you're watching this. Peace.
I've been blossoming como una flor. Perder a mi abuela me causa un gran dolor, pero su memoria me ayuda a ser mejor, vivir sin temor. Un día voy a tocar la guitarra y a escribirte una canción. El día que te fuiste te llevaste parte de mi corazón. Ahora pienso en lo positivo porque sé que es lo que hubieras querido. Carrying on your legacy, 7 October to the death of me.